BARK Radio.
What's good, everybody? It's Robo from All Bark back with another video, and today we're getting my NFL Week 5 picks. This week I will have score predictions, but don't expect a ton of accuracy as I'm still testing it out as it's my first time. But I am picking every game against the spread and straight up still and keeping track of it. So with that said, let's go ahead and recap how the first 4 weeks of the season have gone. Last week we went 10-6 on winners and just 7-9 against the spread, which was tough as it really hurt the season record. But I think we can get back into that positive spot looking at this week's slate. There's some really tight spreads and a lot of potential upsets that could happen, but I think we're getting a bit better read on these teams around the league and how they perform in different environments. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this week's matchups on Sunday. The Vikings play the Browns this week in Dublin, and the Browns are starting Dillon Gabriel over Joe Flacco here, which I definitely think gives them a higher ceiling, but also a lower floor at the same time because he's without a doubt being thrown into the fire. However, the Browns offense was already pretty much at complete rock bottom, as is, and the Browns defense is absolutely elite. I really don't trust the Vikings to score points here either, and Carson Wentz has a long history of turning the ball over. I can see both defenses creating takeaways to seize control of this game, but I really trust what I've seen from the Browns defensive line to just dominate the trenches with how bad the Vikings O-line has been. And getting 4.5 points here feels like a solid spot to me to back the Browns. It wouldn't shock me to see Minnesota take this game by just a field goal, and it's enough of a toss-up for me to go with the Browns against the spread. So that's what I'll take here in this matchup to start Sunday off, 17-14. The Texans are at the Ravens this week, and this is an incredibly ugly game to pick with Lamar Jackson out and Cooper Rush taking over at quarterback. I just don't see him getting much done behind that offensive line who could not block anything the past few weeks, especially when they're going up against an aggressive Texans defense with a loaded front seven. Baltimore just shouldn't be able to move the ball consistently even if they rely on Derrick Henry. On the other side, Houston's offense has been terrible and the offensive line's been even worse than Baltimore's, but this is a matchup where they could finally find some success. The Ravens are already beat up and now they're potentially missing Kyle Hamilton this week. I think the Texans can lean on their defense to get consistent stops, set them up with solid field position, and run the football with Woody Marks to open up the pass game a bit for Stroud. If they limit mistakes and actually block for Stroud, they should walk out of Baltimore with a win, so I'll take a minus the 1.5 on the road this week with a 20-17 final. This Saints-Giants game is pretty ugly too, with two young quarterbacks going head-to-head with pretty underwhelming rosters around them. The Giants look like a fun team, but that Malik Neighbors loss is going to really hurt Jackson Dart's effectiveness and ability to start a rhythm, and the Saints really aren't all that bad of a team compared to them in my opinion. This just feels like a perfect opportunity for the Saints to finally get that first win this season. So much pressure on a rookie quarterback to perform in his first road start without that top weapon, and Rattler has been solid running the show so far. The Saints have been competitive in almost every game besides the Seahawks and could easily be sitting at 2-2 if a couple things went their way in any of the Cardinals, Niners, and Bills games. The defense has been solid enough to keep them in it, and the offense has shown flashes of moving the ball with some consistency. So against a shorthanded Giants team with a rookie quarterback making his first road start, I'm going to ride with the Saints to pick up their first win at home this week and covering the 1.5, 24-20. The Eagles host the Broncos this week, and I think this could be another incredibly good game involving Philly. Denver's looked pretty solid this season, dropping a close game to a clearly good Colts team and nearly upsetting the Chargers in LA. And I think there's a good chance they cover a 4.5 point spread this week. Philly has a stronger roster overall and can lean on their run game in the trenches to keep controlling the tempo. But their passing attack has looked non-existent, honestly, and I think that's what keeps teams hanging around against them. Sean Payton is a master at game planning, and the Broncos defense is more than good enough to slow things down and make the Eagles work. Until we see Jalen Hurts start to throw the football with more consistency and the rushing attack averages more than 3 yards a carry, the Eagles aren't going to blow teams away, especially not against elite coaching staffs and defenses. So this feels like another spot where the Eagles escape with another inevitable win, but the Broncos keep it close enough to cover that 4.5, 24-21. The Cowboys are on the road this week at the Jets, and while the Cowboys' offensive line has struggled at times, they've been able to lean on Dak to pick apart defenses, even while shorthanded, to consistently score points and compete as we saw last week against the Packers. And this Jets defense has been pretty shaky against both the pass and the run. And on the other side, the Cowboys' main defensive weakness has been stopping the passing attack, but Justin Fields has not been able to throw the football with any success this season, which I think gives Dallas a clear edge in this game. Fields is going to extend drives and score points on this Dallas defense with his legs, but when it comes down to it, I just don't think he'll be able to throw the ball when he needs to, and I know Dak will be able to do that. So I like Dallas going on the road and coming away with another win this week and covering that short 2.5 point spread in the process, 27-17. The Colts deserve their respect. They've done nothing but compete with some solid teams this season and have a 3-1 record for a reason. There's a real argument they should be 4-0, honestly, so I see no reason to not back them this week at home against a really struggling Raiders team. Geno Smith and the offense are really not connecting in rhythm, and Ashton Jeanty finally got going last week, but it still wasn't enough to beat a bad Bears team. And this Colts defense is just better than Chicago's, and the offense is clicking against some of the NFL's best defensive units. This spread is pretty high up near a touchdown, and I do see a scenario where the Raiders hang close for a while. But the Colts have proven their worth, and I think they could take control of this game eventually. Just dominating on the ground with Jonathan Taylor and trusting their defense to force Geno into bad decisions and making that offensive line really work. I like the Colts to win this week pretty convincingly, covering that 6.5 point spread and continuing to roll through the season early on with another statement win, 28-14. The Panthers are a team I think are being slept on a little bit here, as they're so much better at home than on the road. And they've shown they can hang in games, so there's no reason to think they can't take it to Miami this week. The offense hasn't been that bad when Bryce Young is in rhythm with Ted McMillan, and Miami's unit isn't exactly shutting anyone down right now, so I think Carolina can find success and keep their drives alive. And defensively, I don't think the Panthers have been that bad, and the Dolphins' offense has been pretty bad all year long, and now Tyreek Hill is out. I just don't trust Tua to win games on the road, even up against the Panthers. A couple of the Panthers' final scores this season haven't been indicative of how they've played in those games, but regardless of how this game goes, I think it's going to come down to the wire no matter what, and I just trust Bryce Young and Carolina at home to get things done here. They've got to be desperate for a win, and I think Miami is one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. So I'm going to roll with the Panthers over the Dolphins here, 28-20. The Seahawks host the Bucs this week in what could be one of the best games in the Week 5, and while I lean Seahawks in this matchup, I think it's going to be a great game. The Bucs are down Mike Evans, obviously, but Chris Godwin's back, and Emeka Egbuka still provides another threat out wide for the offense. Bucky Irving's injury could impact this game as well, but I do like Rachaad White, and I think it won't be too much of a struggle for Tampa in this game. Baker's been one of the best graded quarterbacks under pressure this season, escaping the pocket, but at the same time, this Seattle defense can definitely present some challenges and make the key stops to win this game. And Sam Darnold has absolutely shown he can move the Seattle offense, relying on JSN and Cooper Kupp to get open and make plays, and I trust them to score on a final drive if that's what it came down to. With that said, like I mentioned, the Bucs can definitely cover that 3.5 spread and take this game down to the wire. The defense can create some pressure and keep them in the game if Tampa's offensive injuries become a problem. I trust Baker to keep it close regardless, but Seattle is my pick to win the game straight up, but by just a field goal, 24-21. The Cardinals have not looked great this season, but still sit at a 2-2 record and not out of the picture thanks to their schedule, and get another very strong chance at a win this week as they host the winless Titans. The Titans roster just does not have the pieces around Cam Ward to be overly competitive outside of the bottom feeders in the NFL right now, but we've seen some flashes with the defensive line and even out of Ward here and there, so I definitely don't love laying over a touchdown with Arizona here. They're also down both James Conner and Trey Benson now at running back, and I really question if they'll have any success running the football with DeMercado and Carter. So this game comes down to Kyler being able to consistently push the ball downfield throughout the air and make plays with his legs. I think he'll do it enough, as Tennessee is just a bad team and has not looked good on the road, but the Cardinals are just not a team I honestly see them blowing out of the water. They've struggled against the Saints and nearly blew a lead against the Panthers already this season. So I'm going to rock with the Titans covering an 8.5 point spread on the road this week, but take the Cardinals straight up, as this would just be a bad loss at home that they should be able to avoid from happening. 27-23. The Lions look like one of the best teams in the NFL this season and continue to show that Packers game was more of a fluke than we originally thought, as their offensive line has just absolutely dominated since that game. They're on the road at the Bengals this week, and there's no reason they shouldn't continue to dominate, as the Bengals have looked absolutely lifeless since Burrow went down. The Lions' pass rush has been feasting in the Kelvin Shepherd system lately, and although the secondary struggled at times and has some guys out, I just don't think Jake Browning has shown he can make the Lions pay at all. And that Cincinnati offensive line is not going to do him any favors. Detroit also has Branch and Kirby Joseph in the secondary who can force turnovers, and the defensive line can just completely shut down the Bengals offense again this week. And I don't know where stops are going to come from on the other side of the ball. Jared Goff and this offense are in complete rhythm right now, and they haven't even been able to get Gibbs going the way everyone knows he can. I think he explodes, and we see the Lions continue to roll as they win on the road and cover the 10-point spread pretty comfortably this week, 38-17. The Chargers look to bounce back this week after an embarrassing road loss to the Giants in Jackson Dart's debut. And it'll be a pretty tough game this week as they host the Commanders with Jaden Daniels back healthy. But I do think that game last week was really just a bad performance the Chargers can move on from and call a fluke. The offensive line could be an issue without Joe Alt, but they aren't that bad of a unit, and the Commanders' defense isn't really a strong one in my opinion, who's going to give them a ton of fits. I also think coming back home will help a lot, as the Commanders are the ones traveling across the country for this matchup, and they're pretty beat up. It's tough to win traveling that far, period, and Justin Herbert is just an elite quarterback I have a lot of faith in. He hasn't even gotten rhythm with Vlad McConkey yet this season, but this is a great opportunity to start that connection again against a bad Commander secondary. And Jesse Minter probably schemes up a much more focused game plan this week against a beat-up offense after his defense got eaten alive by a rookie quarterback and running back last week. So I definitely like the Chargers to bounce back in this spot this week and put the Giants' loss in the rearview mirror, covering the 2.5 point spread in the process, 28-24. The Bills host the Patriots Sunday night and are 8.5 point favorites as you'd expect, as I think it's an easy argument to make as them being the best team in the NFL right now, or at least some of the best in the AFC. That offense is sort of sleepwalking right now and still rolling with James Cook's dominance. And Josh Allen is such a weapon that presents the Patriots defense with so many challenges. With that said, the Patriots covering the spread does make some sense here because the divisional games are always tighter due to the familiarity between the teams, and both New England's defense and Drake May have been playing well this season. And on top of all of that, Josh Allen and the Bills have not been great against the spread as double-digit favorites lately, already failing to cover twice this year, and also last year against the same Patriots team at home where they won just 24-21. I think the Patriots have shown they can sustain drives on one end and make things difficult for offenses on the other, which should keep this matchup closer than many expect it to be. But if the Bills play sound football and are competitive defensively, they'll take control of this game and come away with a win at home yet again this week. I just don't think it's going to be by double digits in a prime time spot. 27-21 Buffalo. The Chiefs are on the road at the Jaguars this week, and they've earned a lot of respect back after just dominating the Ravens last week. They've competed without their top weapons this season, and the defense looks so sharp. I trust them a lot more now with Worthy back in the fold, and think Rice can make them a championship contender again as long as they stay healthy. But the Jags definitely present some problems, especially with this game being in Jacksonville and on prime time. They've been playing really well this season, and a lot of people see them as a legit upset pick in this matchup. But for me, the Chiefs' defense should be able to put Trevor Lawrence in tough situations and really shut down the run enough to come away with a road win. And I do trust Mahomes with a now improved passing game with Worthy back to find enough points to control this game somewhat early on. So give me Kansas City to both win the game straight up and cover a spread of just a field goal on the road Monday night, 31-20. That's it for my Week 5 picks. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on any of these games, as well as your predictions. As always, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
BARK Radio.